Well, we do now continue our countdown of the top 10 ag law developments from 2025, from property rights to input regulations. There were a number of legal issues that could impact farmers and ranchers in this year ahead. Our good friend to put this report together for us, Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law. He joins us now. Roger, always a pleasure. So here we are, halfway point. Coming in at number 5, we're talking antitrust issues in agriculture. Right to repair, settlements in the meatpacking industry. We're looking at the 2025 legal landscape. They seem to favor market competition and producer autonomy. And maybe you can speak to maybe a pivotal moment when we saw lawmakers and regulators starting to really pay attention and start enforcing these antitrust laws.
Yeah, I think, Suzanne, good to be with you today. Thanks for having me. I think that 25 did seem to be a pretty watershed year as far as government being interested in competition issues in agriculture. I think a big moment, you asked kind of for a moment that might have shifted there, maybe back in June when there was a federal court in Illinois that said that John Deere had to face an antitrust lawsuit brought by the Federal Trade Commission on the right to repair issue. That's a big deal. And that case will proceed forward. And of course, Congress has kind of gotten interested in the issue, too. So we'll see what happens.
Roger, how about the Farm Act? How have they built on this momentum?
Yeah, that's what I was referencing there. Congress got into this late in 2025. And what that act would do is give farmers the right to go out and hire an independent mechanic or maybe repair things themselves rather than having to go to an authorized dealer of that particular equipment. And that really makes equipment a ownership of full property right, not just simply a license to use.
Well, obviously, this having a big impact on the ag sector in the year ahead. You think this is going to continue now that we saw this in 2025?
Well, I do think it's a start in more competition or maybe more competitive markets for ag inputs that might bleed over into the output side, or rather the output markets that might bleed over into the input side of things and the equipment repair industry. We shall see. I think it's still going to be a prominent issue in 2026.
Let's move on to number 4 on your list. Landmark ruling where the Supreme Court narrowed the scope of the National Environmental Policy Act. Give us a little background on this ruling and why this is so significant.
Yeah, this was a unanimous opinion of the Supreme Court. It was 8-0. One of the justices recused themselves. But the decision says that federal agencies don't have to consider indirect environmental impacts, things that are outside of the particular agency's control, when that agency is thinking about approving an infrastructure project. And that's a big victory for farmers and ranchers. That means reduced regulatory delays, less red tape, lower costs, and protection of traditional land use rights. So basically, you can think about this as barring activists from using the National Environmental Policy Act to block projects based on broad climate change concerns that the agency can't control. And again, I just want to reiterate, this was a unanimous ruling of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, big move in agriculture, no doubt. Of course, we continue to look forward to the rest of this countdown. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Great information. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law.